guys, welcome to Tech. In this tutorial we'll continue with our Python series. Today we'll be going over conditional statements, comparison operators, ternary statements within Python. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to discuss is the comparison operators in Python. So comparison operators. So in Python there are various comparison operators. These include the following. The first one being this one, and then I'll just write them and then I'll explain them to you. The greater than sign, the less than sign, the less than or equal, the greater than or equal, the less than or equal, and then the not equal statement. Okay, so these are the comparison operators we have in Python. So comparison operators are used to compare values together. So for example, let's have here number 1 which is equals to 10, and then down here I have number 2 which is equals to 20. Now comparison operators, they usually return boolean values, which is, we have discussed boolean values, which is either true or false. If you haven't checked the tutorial on boolean values, just check it up in the series, in this playlist. So we have discussed already what is a boolean value. So it's basically a true or a false. So comparison operators, they return boolean values, which is basically a true or a false. So for example, let's say we want to say number 1. Let's use the first comparison operator, which is the double equal sign. So equals and then number 2. So what we are basically asking Python is to check if number 1's value is equals to number 2's value. Okay, so is 10 equals to 20? The answer is false. So if you run this, you will get false. Okay. So if I just bring this up a bit, this over here, you can see we get false. So that is the first comparison operator. It's basically compare the magnitude of two values. So you can also do this with strings. So you can say Python, and then here you can say Java. So is Python equals to Java? So this should return to us false, which also returns to us false over here. Okay, so we can compare strings, we can compare any of those data types. We can compare integers, booleans. Integers, boolean also can be compared. So for example, if this, we say this equals to, we say this is false, and then we change this to true. So is true equals to false? No. So if you run this, we get false also. So we get false. So we can also compare booleans as well. But the thing to take away from this is that this is not the assignment operator. Assignment operator is only a single equal sign, while the comparison operator to compare the two values is a double equal signs. So this one returns a boolean value. Okay, so now let's move on to the second comparison operator in Python. So for example, let's return back to our values 10 and 20. So we want to check is 10 greater than 20, because this is a greater than sign. This is false, right? We obviously know that 10 is less than 20. So if you run this, we will get false. Okay, we got false over there. Now so 10 is not greater than 20. So let's move on to the other one, which is basically the opposite of this one, which is the less than sign. So is 10 less than 20? The answer is true. So if you run this, we'll get true. There we get true. Let's move on to the third one, which is the greater or equals. So is 10 greater or equals to 20? Is 10 greater or equals to 20? The answer is false. So if you run this, we'll get false. Okay, but now if I change this to 20, so that's our statement now is asking Python, is 20 greater or equals to 20? It is not greater, but it's equals to 20, so it will return true. So if you run this, we'll get a true value. Okay, so now let's change this to 30 or 40 again, 30. So now if you run this, what you're basically asking Python is that is 30 greater or equals to 20? 30 is obviously greater than than 20 but is not equal, but one of the statements is correct. So if you run this, we'll get a true. So we get true. So that is so let's move on to the other one. So it is less than or equals. So is 30 less than or equals to 20? Let's change this back to 10. Is 10 less than or equals to 20? 10 is less than 20, so it's true. So one of those statements is true. So if you run this, it returns to us true. But if I change this to become 10, what do you think the answer will be? So if you run this, we'll get true also, because 10 is not less than 10 but is equal to 10, so we get true. That's why we're getting true. But if I change this to a less number like 5, we will get false, because it is 10 is greater than 5 and is not equals to 5. That's why we're getting this. So let's move on to the other operator, which is the opposite of this operator. So this is if we add this is called the negator operator. So it's basically going to check if this is not equals to this one. Okay, so this one stands for not equals to. This one is equal to, while this one is not equal to. So is 10 not equals to 20? This is true, right? Because 10 is not equals to 20, so it's to us true. So if you run this, we get true. So this is a negator operator. So these are the comparison operators in Python. So in the next section of this tutorial, we'll be going over conditional statement like if, else if. So this is where we are going to use this comparison operator that we have learned. So just keep them in mind. Okay, so see you there. Hello guys, welcome back to the second section in this tutorial. In this section, we'll be going over conditional statements in Python. So let's get started. So this is where we ended previously in the previous section. So let's delete all of this and move on. So conditional statements are the basic fundamental knowledge of program. If you don't really understand this, I don't really think you can do programming, because we use this every single time. So it's very important that you pay attention to this and watch this tutorial till the end. So we will say if, and then here will be a condition, and then colon, and then here you write an expression. You write an expression here. So we are saying if a certain condition, do this expression. What if that condition is not met? So we have something known as else if. We also have another condition. Let's call this condition 2. We do perform the expression below it, and then else if none of those conditions is met, we carry out this condition. Okay, so now let me just go over this and explain to you more in depth what I have just written. So if it checks for a condition, this condition must return a boolean value, which is basically a true or a false. So our condition, let's say a condition B, let's set it to false. Okay, so we're going to check condition here. So if the condition is true, the expression below here will be executed. Else, let's just remove this first. Else, if let's move this up here. So condition, if you're checking that condition, if the condition is true, the expression below this block, we have talked about blocks in Python, right? So the expression below this block will be executed. Else, this will be executed. Okay, so for example, let me say condition is false. So let's just print out something here. Print okay, let's say hello, and then here we'll print world. Okay, so now our condition is false. So Python reach here, it asks, is condition true? If condition is true, we'll print hello, else we'll print world. Okay, so now let's execute this program. Just think for a while what will happen. Our condition is false. This code here will be executed only and only if condition is true. Okay, if this is not met, this condition is not met, means that it is false, then the else statement will be executed. So you can think of it like someone is telling you, go to the shop and buy me a packet of milk. If there's no packet of milk, buy me a packet of yogurt. Okay, so that is what is, if this exists, do this, or else do this. Okay, so that is what condition statement is. So if you run this, what you're going to get is, you're going to get world. Why did we get world? Because Python came over here and then it checked, is condition true? Condition is false, so it skipped this whole block, it didn't execute it. So it came here and said else, because I said if it's not true, print world. Okay, so Python came here, this condition is false, and then came here and printed world. These are conditional statements in Python. So now if I change this to true, what do you think will happen? Let's just run the code. We will get hello. Why did we get hello? Because Python came over here. If condition is true, is it true? Absolutely true. It came here and printed hello, and this down here won't be executed. Okay, so this statement will only be executed if this one is false, if we didn't go inside of this block. Okay, now let's change this to 10. Okay, 10. Now let's use the apply comparison operators here. So you say condition, let's change this to number. Change this to number. So if number is greater than 10, we are going to print greater, else we'll print less. Okay, so now let's move on. So Python will move over here and then check. We have discussed that comparison operators, they return a boolean value, which is basically a true or a false, and we say that if statement, the expression must return a boolean value. So we come over here, we check number, is it greater than 10? This is false, right? Because 10 is not greater than 10, so it will print less. I know, just ignore it for now. It does not sound logical, but just ignore it for now. Just basically understand what we're trying to explain to you here. So we are getting less. Okay, now let's say that if it is greater or equals to 10, what do you think will happen? Is 10 greater than 10? No. Is 10 equals to 10? True. So this statement will be printed. Okay, so let's run this. We'll get greater. Okay, just forget about the logic being greater or less. Let's change this to 20. Okay, now what do you think this will evaluate to? Number is 20, so we're going to check, is 20 greater than 10? Yes, so we'll come to print greater. So if I run this, we'll get greater, because 20 is greater than 10. But if I put in here to be 5, number to be 5, if you run this, we'll get less, because 5 is obviously less than 10. Okay, now let's move on to another part of this. Imagine that you want to check for more than one condition, so that's where we put else if. Else if, we also put in a condition and we perform an expression here below. Okay, so if this first condition is evaluated and it doesn't evaluate to true, we'll move to this one. If it doesn't evaluate to true, and then we finally move to the else. Okay, so you can think of it like, let's create a simple program. Let's put this to 10. If our number is greater or equals to 20, we'll print greater than 20. Okay, greater than 20. Else, if our number is less than 20, we'll print here, we'll print less than 20. Now let's put this to be equal to 20. Okay, equal to 20, and then this will be less than 20. Okay, now let's come over here. So our number is 10, right? So we are checking if 10 is greater or equals to 20. Is this true? No, this is false, so this won't be executed. And then we move to the second part. Is number less than 20? So this should be equal to 20. Is the number equals to 20? 10 is obviously not equals to 20. This block won't be executed. And then we move here. Finally, is less than 20, because if the number is not greater or equals to 20, this actually is wrong. Let's move this. If the number isn't greater than 20, neither is it equal to 20, then it is obviously less than 20, right? If a number isn't greater than 20 and it is not equals to 20, then the number is less than 20. So that's what our program basically does. So if I run this, we'll get less than 20. So if I put in here 20, what do you think the output will be? Let's run the code. We'll get equal to 20, equal to, this will be 2, equals to 20. Now let's change this to 30. What do you think the output will be? Our output is greater than 20, okay, because 30 is obviously greater than 20. So this is how you can put in here multiple of these else statements, if else statements, sorry. You can put in here as many as you want, but at the end always try to use else, because if none of the other if or if else has been evaluated to true, then we'll print this over here. So now let's move on to, let's create a simple program in Python. This program will take in a person's password. You know, if you go to websites that your login forms, they take your password and then they check the length of the password. If it's less than most websites I think is 8. If it's less than 8, they'll tell you your password is weak or medium or very strong password. So let's create such a program in Python. So say user, let's say password, which will be equals to input. We'll take the user's input. We'll tell you, say input your password, okay? So we'll tell the user to input his or her password, and then we'll check if the password, if it is greater than 16, let's say 16, we'll print strong password, okay? Strong password. We'll print strong password, okay? Now let's move on. Else if it is our password, it is equals to, has a length of 8, we'll print medium, okay? Let's put this in quotes, okay? Else we'll tell the user that he or she has a very weak password. So say print weak password, okay? Even here we'll print medium password, okay? So now let's see what our program do. Our program will take in a user's input, which is the user's password. If the length of that password is greater than 16, we'll print a strong password. If it is 8, we'll say a medium password. Else we'll print weak password, meaning that the password is not greater than this should be greater than or equals to, means that if the password is 16 characters long or above 16 characters long, we'll say this is a strong password. If it's exactly 8 characters long, we will say this should be, if it is we will say that if it is greater than 8, if it's greater than 8, no, let's leave it like that. If it's equals to 8, we'll print is a medium password, and then if we else will say is a weak password. So in here, what about if the password is 10 characters long? This should still be a medium medium strong password, right? Because it is not greater than 16, which is the strongest, or above 16, which is strong, but anything 8 or greater than 8 but less than 16 is a medium password, a medium strong password. So let's check if it is greater or equals to 8. We will print here it is a medium password, else we'll print it's a weak password, means that it is below 8. Okay, now let's put in the logic here. So we have learned in the previous tutorial about string functions, we talked about length. So the length will basically return the number of characters a string contains. So pass in here our password. So we are checking the length of the password. How many characters does it have? If it has 16 or greater than 16 characters, we print is a strong password. If it is greater than 8 or equals to 8, it will print it's a medium password, else will print it's a weak password. Okay, so now let's run this program. So now it's asking for a password. Maybe we'll type in Python. So if I run this, we'll get weak password because this is obviously less than 8 characters long. So now let's run our program again. So let's type in anything, and then you see we get strong password because this is obviously 16 or greater than 16 characters long. So let's type in again. So to actually see this, let's print out the length of the password so that you can actually see. Okay, so if I run this, run this. So we ask for a password, so I'll type in Python 123. So our length is 9. This password is 9 characters long, so it is a medium password. Okay, so let's run again. Let's type in something that is less than 8 characters, so it is 6 characters long. It is a weak password. So let's run this again. Let's type in characters password of many length. So if you run this, we get 10 characters. Okay, so you have to type in more. Okay, run this. Let's type in just any random characters. We run this. Our password is 19 characters long, which is a very strong password. So it's a basic and of what if, else if, and else statement do. So if this condition is met, this block will be executed, and then the rest of the blocks won't be executed, meaning that the else, if, and the else block won't be executed. But if this one fails to execute, we'll move on to this one. Which if it fails to execute, we'll move on to this one. So that's what our control flow is. Okay, so now let's remove all of this. Let's create another program using conditional statements. Let's create a program that would ask the user for his height. We'll take in the user's height using the input function. We'll ask the user for his height. Tell me your height. So ask the user for his height, and then we'll check for a height in feet. Okay, feet. So the person's height in feet. Okay, so if we take that person's height, the user's height, we need to check for a condition. If the height is greater than 6, we'll print we'll say that normal. Okay, we'll print normal height. Now here we can see that our program will return to us an error. Do you know why? Because here we have discussed input functions in Python. So if you didn't watch that tutorial, please go and check it out. So input function basically takes in an input, and by default that data type is a string, and we've already discussed what the data types are. So we can't compare strings with integers. So to make our program work, you have to take this and put it in an integer. You have to cast it into an integer. So we are taking the user's input, we are converting it into an integer. So that is a number, so we can compare it with other integer values. So we are taking the user's height, we are comparing it to 6 because his height is in feet. So if his height is greater than 6 feet, you are saying this should be tall person, we'll say tall person. What if their height is not greater than 6 feet? Okay, what if their height is exactly 6 feet? Because most humans like is known that the average human height should be 6 feet. Okay, so we'll print here normal person. Okay, so if your height is greater than 6 feet, we'll print tall person. If it's exactly 6 feet, we'll print normal. It is normal to humans to be 6 feet. If, let's write another else if. Let's say that our height is exactly equals to 5.5. we will print a bit short. We'll print a bit short. Else, if you didn't meet any of these criteria, we'll print you are short. Okay, so that's what you're going to do. So we're taking the user's height, we convert it to an integer so we can compare it with other integer values. We check if the person's height is greater than 6 feet, that is a tall person. If it's exactly 6 feet, we'll say normal, because most humans are 6 feet. If the height is exactly 5.5 feet, we'll say a bit short. And then if it's none of those values, mean that you are less than 5.5 feet tall, we'll print you are short. Okay, now this expression, all of this expression, we could have put it in here using this comparison operator, but we just want you to see the logic of if, else if, and else statements in Python. So if you run this, it's going to ask for our height. So I'm going to type in that I'm 6 feet tall. I am a normal person. So normals are 6 feet tall. If I run this again, let's type in I'm 5.7 feet tall. Our program crashed. Tell me your height, trace value. Okay, do you know why? Because this is a integer, but you're inputting a float value. So to solve this, we'll say float. So we can take, maybe a person's height can be 5.5 feet tall. So if you run this, you type in 5.7, you are short. You see, this is a bug in our program. It's saying us you are short because it came to here. This guy isn't taller than 6 feet. The guy isn't 6 feet tall. The guy is not exactly 5.5 feet. So we're supposed to say if it is 5.5 feet or greater. Okay. So now let's run this to see what we get. So we say 5.7 feet, a bit short. Okay, so now that is the logic of our program. So a program that takes in your height and tells you that you are short, a bit short, or very short. So this is an if, elif, and else block statements. Try to really understand this, because we use this a lot in programming. So try to really go over this video again, review it until you get the concept. Okay, so this brings us to the end of this tutorial. So before we go, I would like to give you one simple assignment. Create a program which you takes in a person's weight, and then you can create a set of conditions to determine if the person is obese or skinny or just normal person. Okay, try to create such a program. Take you like 10 minutes to create such a program to take a person's weight, and then write a set of conditions to determine if the person is obese, normal, weight, or skinny. Okay, of our tutorial, ternary conditionals. So ternary conditionals are just another way of writing if and else statements without involving the elif block. So by in a much more simpler way. So let's get to it. So let's have here a condition. Let's take in a user's height, and then we check if the height is 6 feet. We'll say if the height is 6 feet or greater than 6 feet, we'll say tall person, or else we'll say short person. Okay, Now ternary conditions taken do only allow if or else if they do not support if or else they do not support if statements. So let's write the program. So we'll say we will print tall person if we will print tall person if the height of the person is equals or greater than 6 feet, else we will print short person. So we'll print tall if the height is greater than or equals to 6, else we'll print short. So this is just like basic English. Print tall person if height is greater or equals to 6, else print short. Okay, so now let's run this program. So it was is greater or equals. Okay, so let's run this program. So it's asking for height. I will tell him, I will say 6 feet. So it's printed tall person. So this is how we work with ternary conditionals in Python. So if I run this again, I print I will say my height is 5.5 feet. So I print it gets short person. So what it does is that print tall person if height is greater or equals to 6, else print short person. So this is a shorter version of writing this code. So if you write it in the normal long way, we'll get, it will say else print, just copy and paste this over here. Okay, so let's save this. So now let's comment this guy out. So what our program will do, this is 6 or equal. Okay, so what our program will do, take in the height and then check if the height is greater or equals to 6, print tall person, else print short person. So this is a more verbose way of this ternary conditional. So you can see that ternary conditionals are way more shorter than writing verbose code like this. So this is more Pythonic, while this looks more like C++ or Java. So whenever you have the chance, if you want to check just if or else, I advise you to use ternary conditionals. But since you're a beginner, just stick with if and else block statement for now. They help you to really understand coding, but this is a bit confusing. But as you advance, just keep it at the back of your mind that there's just ternary conditional. So if I run this program, we should get the same functionality as before. So if I type in 6 feet, we get tall person. So if I run this program again and I type in 5.5, we get short person. Okay, so this is just the same code, but this is more verbose, while this one is more simpler form of if and else statements. These are called ternary conditionals. So it takes out, what it does, it will do everything before the if statement. If this condition is true, else it will do this. Okay, what is just a ternary condition? This is just an add-on to your knowledge, but I advise you to stick with this for now. Okay, yeah. This brings us to the end of this tutorial. Please, if you have not subscribed, subscribe to my channel, like and support my videos. If you have any question, you can leave a comment in the comment section below. I'll do my best to get back to you, or you can follow me on Instagram at FreezoTech. Okay, so thanks for watching. See you there.